I believe that American Indians should hold claim of the Kennewick Man's remains. It was found on their land, and although it was taken away from them, the American Indians should be able to hold control over these remains. Anthropologists identified the remains, being able to pick apart the race of the man himself. Because of the environmental factors, different races were formed, causing physical appearances to differentiate where you are from. Now, due to the size of his skull and the apparent brain size that was thought to have been inside, it was discovered that the man had American Indian lineage. The structure of the Indian mind appears to be different from a white man, nor do the two harmonize in their social relationships except on the most limited scale, said by David Hurst Thomas on page 41. But how did these anthropologists get this information? Where were they able to collect this data from? By breaking into American Indian grounds. They dug up newly buried bodies of unknown specimens, an ongoing issue that couldn't be stopped. The Kennewick Man was extracted in an illegal way, or so it seems. Shouldn't this work against the white man's argument? Why should it belong to them if they had to steal it? Indians didn't give the United States government permission to come onto their land and obtain these collections. It was never seen coming. I believe that this can be seen as a racist act. American Indians were oppressed and did not deserve to be treated the way in which they were. They were belittled by the white man, seemingly making them feel like second-class citizens. The only thing they could hold on to was their culture, their history, and their morals. Indian culture is very much based on the history of its tribes, how they overcame obstacles, and what caused them to get where they are now. The Kennewick Man's remains are a part of that culture, a part of their race. By stripping them of that, the white man is taking away part of their identity. It is unfortunate that perhaps the color of the American Indian's skin caused this divide. This quote by David Hurst Thomas sums it up pretty well, I believe. It goes as follows. The careless use of racially charged language not only demeans legitimate anthropological science, it also plays directly into the hands of those who use race in a hateful way. The Dawes Act supported these racist ideals, stripping American Indians of their identity and independence. In hopes to terminate Indian reservation land in order to assimilate American Indian populations into mainstream America, the United States government installed this vicious government policy. Again, what gives them the right to take away what is not theirs? Land, artifacts, Indian tradition was stripped. However, much like before, the Indians did not have a choice. Whatever was theirs now became the white man's. They had no say in the process. Why would anyone want to assimilate if they were being forced? Why would anyone give away their land, which has held their ancestors for generations? Why would anyone allow their artifacts, especially those precious as the Kennewick Man, to be taken from them without a fight? Now, the American Indians were able to combat this issue with the help of the United States government, surprisingly, with the Indian Reorganization Act, which was implemented to decrease federal government control over their communities and to expand their own self-governance. This included dismantling the Dawes Act, hopefully in order to help Indians retain their land base, which would help them retain their history and their culture. It was set out to establish new tribal governments with their own constitution and extended powers, and helped foster a healthy economic base by encouraging Indian-owned business. This was the voice that the Indians needed. This is the fight that they needed to keep their land and freedoms. Now, with all that's been said, I feel that it can be supported that the remains should be in the hands of the American Indians. Having been oppressed for so long, having their rights taken away, and their traditions stripped, I feel that these remains belong to them. It is their land, their people's history. Unfortunately, the American Indians' ways have been depleted to almost nothing. However, I hope that this brings some awareness for the other groups facing similar challenges. Who is to know the real story behind something? But we must keep an open mind because a closed one is good for nothing. The Kennewick Man lives through the American Indian population.